Hi, welcome to Ask Tim, an insurance technical podcast brought to you by IABNY. I'm your host, Tim Dodge, and I'm coming to you today from the Aaron Gilbras Center here in the Geek Cave at IABNY headquarters. You know, it's March, and all of us here at IABNY are really excited for St. Patrick's Day. I'm even drinking green tea. It is green tea. It's not Irish coffee. It's green tea. Kind of wish it was Irish coffee. To quote the governor of Texas, oops. Anyway, on to the subject of today's show. You know, one thing that IABNY members call me about from time to time, and it's a little bit tricky, but it's important because it's something that a lot of businesses face, and that's the whole subject of employees using their personal autos in the employer's business. Now, we have this circumstance here at IABNY all the time. We do a lot of traveling on association business, to local association meetings, to board meetings, to different events, to teach CE classes, that sort of thing. So the question is, when an employee is using their car, their personal car on the employer's business, how does the coverage work out? Well, first thing to know is that under the other insurance conditions in both the personal and the business auto policies, they dovetail nicely. Coverage follows ownership of the vehicle. So if I'm using my personal car and I have any business and I get into an accident which is going to involve some liability, I've injured someone else or damaged their property, my coverage is going to respond first. Why? Because I own the car. So even if the business auto policy provides non-owned auto coverage, still that's going to be excess over the coverage provided to the owner of the car. Now, second thing I want to point out is that my personal auto policy, assuming I've got an ISO personal auto policy, is going to cover both me and it's going to cover my employer, IABNY, because the way that the definition of insured in the personal auto policy, PP0001, it says insured is used in this part means you, obviously. It goes on to say for your covered auto, which in the personal policy is going to be the one that I've got scheduled on it. It says insured means any person or organization, but only with respect to their legal responsibility for acts or omissions of a person covered under this policy. So that would be me. I'm covered under my personal auto policy. If there's an organization that's responsible for my actions while using that car, that would be IABNY while I'm driving to teach a CE class in Buffalo or someplace like that, then IABNY has coverage under my personal auto policy. So it's going to provide coverage if we both get sued, which is possible in the event of a severe accident. My policy is going to provide indemnity and defense for me, and it will also provide those for IABNY. The consideration here, of course, is limits of liability. It's great that my policy is going to provide coverage. The question is how much coverage is it going to provide for IABNY. As you know, the minimum auto liability limits required by law in New York are only $25,000 for injury to one person, $50,000 for injury to more than one person. Not very much coverage. So, and in my case, of course, I carry higher limits than that. But still, they're not the sort of limits that you would ordinarily find on a business auto policy, where the limits probably start at $500,000 and go up from there. So the question of excess coverage becomes important in the event of a severe injury. Now, if the business auto policy has symbol 1 on it, any auto, or symbol 9, which is coverage for non-owned autos, then it's going to provide coverage for the business for any accident involving my personal use, my business use of my personal vehicle. Here's the rub. It's going to cover the business. It's not going to cover me. So let's say I've got liability limits of $250,000 per person on my personal policy, and let's say IABNY has a business auto policy with $1 million CSL. I'm making these numbers up. Let's say I get into an accident and I cause injuries to somebody, and the damages come out to say $750,000. So we got $250,000 available under my policy to cover IABNY and me. That gets used up. So now we go look into IABNY's policy, where it's going to pay the remainder of what IABNY owes. Let's say the court decides that we're 50-50 responsible. So my share is $375,000. IABNY's share is $375,000. IABNY is going to be fully taken care of. Between my policy and the $1 million they've got in their policy, they're going to be taken care of. However, the business auto policy in the who is an insured section says that It includes anyone other than the named insured, which is IABNY here, while using, with your permission, a covered auto you own, hire, or borrow, except, number one, the owner or anyone else from whom you hire or borrow a covered auto. So, because I own the car, but because of that definition, I don't have coverage under IABNY's policy. So, I've got coverage under my policy, and so does IABNY. For the excess, IABNY has coverage. I don't. Good deal for IABNY. For me, not so much. So, in situations like this, where businesses want to protect their employees, they need to add endorsement CA9933 to the business auto policy. It's a very simple endorsement. It says it adds to the who is an insured provision of the auto liability section of the BAP. It says it includes any employee of yours as an insured while using a covered auto that you don't own, hire, or borrow in your business or your personal affairs. Essentially making the employee an insured under the business auto policy for use of their personal auto, again, in the business. Doesn't apply if I'm running an errand on the weekend or something like that, or going to see a friend or something like that. It has to be when I'm using the car on company business, like I said, driving to teach a CE class or go to a local association meeting in Long Island or something like that. Last point I want to make is with regard to rental vehicles. First thing I want to point out is that provision I just read to you from the Who is an Insured section specifically says that there's no coverage for the owner or anyone else from whom you hire or borrow a covered auto. Okay, so what that means is that if I'm renting a vehicle on company business, IABNY sends me to Florida, say, and I'm going to be there for 3 or 4 days, and so I need to rent a car so I can get to and from wherever it is I'm going to be working. There's no coverage for the rental company. The liability coverage is not extended to the rental company. Why? Because they own the car. However, I'm not the owner of the car, so if I'm using that vehicle on IABNY business, I'm driving to or from the office or whatever, not necessarily going to Disney World or something in my free time, but actually, driving to or from the office on company business, I'm going to have coverage. I don't own the vehicle. The car is covered by IABNY's policy because they've got non-owned coverage, and therefore I'm going to have personal coverage under IABNY's policy for that. Again, if I'm renting it under my name, my liability coverage is going to apply first to both me and IABNY, and then IABNY's policy is going to kick in after that. So, you need to make some change. If you want to protect your employees under the business auto policy, you do need to make a small change. Some underwriters may or may not be willing to add it, but you need to investigate the option of adding the employees as insured endorsement CA9933. For more information on business auto topics or auto insurance in general, see the auto insurance page in the research section of the IABNY website. If you need to get a hold of me, you can call me at 800-851-8853, extension 229. Email me at tdodge@iabny.org. Find me on AOL Instant Messenger as tdog4494. Find me on Twitter as Ask Tim. You can find me on LinkedIn and drop me a question there. And let's see, I forgot the stats. 888-432-0510. And thanks for watching this episode of Ask Tim. We'll be back soon with another episode. And in the meantime, if you want to learn any wild Irish drinking songs for St. Patrick's Day, don't forget to Ask Tim.